and welcome to episode 5 of the Business Blondes chat show. Thank you. We just wanted to say a big thank you today for everybody that is supporting us. We've been really overwhelmed with the positive feedback that we are receiving. So thank you for that. And like every week, we really want to hear from you. So please, if you're watching us live, please get involved with the chat and ask us any questions that you'd like us to pose to our experts. And if you're going to catch us up later, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think, because this is the show for you. So we want to learn from your feedback. So today we are embracing the Get Britain Talking initiative. And we have our very own expert on the panel. So we thought it was really appropriate today to talk to Carole Ann about the importance of talking and sharing. So you all know that on the panel, we've said it many times that we belong to mastermind groups and we've got each other and we're really good friends and we're coaches as well. So we're really used to sharing and we're really used to listening. But we do know that it doesn't come naturally to everybody. So Carole Ann is going to give us some really great tips and tricks and shares on how we can all get better at this. But before we move on to that, how's your week been, ladies? Kim, what's it been like for you?
It's been great, thank you. And it's been one of those, it's a great initiative, isn't it? Get Britain Talking. Certainly one I would love, because we might have noticed I do quite like to talk. But I've seen it being so important for clients and friends and colleagues who are starting to feel isolated, I think, and a little bit sad that they've spent so long now disconnected. So I think it's really important that we help people find a way to talk. And I don't know if you saw the article from LinkedIn, but they did some research into C-suite executives, and they're saying that 69% of the people who responded are finding leading right now the toughest of their life, and that 52% of them are doubting their ability to lead effectively, and 41% of them are facing stress, anxiety, and mental health challenges. So when we think of that at the very top of organizations, that's just going to permeate throughout for everybody. So I think there is a real need right now for people to find an outlet, somewhere that they can go to find that support. And I guess that's why I'm so excited about today's episode, because I know the lovely Carole Ann is going to have some amazing hints and tips for people to be able to really make some improvements and get the support they need.
Yeah, no pressure then. Thank you, Kim. My week's been good. I've been saying no to going out so much, which is an anathema to me, and it's been really cranky having to do that. But I've been thinking about motivation. I saw a brilliant study by onbuy.com, and they did a study of all motivational music on Spotify playlists. And the number one was anything by Bruce Springsteen, or I Want to Be Yours by the Arctic Monkeys. So why not have a Spotify motivational playlist? Also, the worst song apparently is I'm So Excited by the Pointer Sisters. So don't put that on, because apparently it doesn't help motivation. So there you go. Who knew?
I think that's a really good point. I mean, I love music, but there's nothing more that makes me happy or motivated or upbeat if I drive to the office with some really loud. And Bruce Springsteen is right up there on my Spotify playlist as well, on how to get me in the vibrant mood. So good shout. Penny,
on my playlist I've got, and I've played it to death, is Whitney Houston's I Didn't Know My Own Strength. Oh my God, I love that one. But it does make me cry. It does make me cry a bit when I listen to it. Yeah, my week's been really interesting. So I did have a couple of days off this week because I went down to Wales to watch Ross do his lone London marathon. As many, I think 43,000 people did that, which is phenomenal. He raised over £4,000 for Victoria's Promise, the charity, and that was quite an emotional thing to watch somebody doing in driving rain and wind. So I've had a bit of a shorter week, but one of the things that in the last 2 days I've had a lot of calls from people, actually some new people have contacted me who are definitely suffering burnout. They've got all the symptoms of that. And I think it's great that we're talking about Get People Talking, because one of the real common things about this is they had that overdone strength of independence where they're obviously not willing to talk to anyone about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard for some people to talk, isn't it? And I think what they're suffering is they're not pacing their life properly and they're overwhelmed. They can just keep working. They're not building in any quiet time. So,
yeah.
It's not COVID, by the way. I'm just going to take a drink of water. I've just got
I think you're right, Penny. I think some people view it, especially the higher up they are, as a sign of weakness. So they keep everything suppressed because they've got to be the strong ones at the top. You know, and we all know that that's not the healthy way forward. Yeah. So, I mean, clearly we love to talk. Yeah, that's the whole reason why us four have got together and done this. But as I said before, we recognise it can be a struggle for others. So, Carole Ann, how do we get Britain talking?
Well, I think it's been a great week because we had Joe Wicks and Lawrence Fox, the actor, both opening up quite candidly, quite kind of macho male guys, saying they've struggled and they've had mental health issues, anxiety, sadness, depression, insomnia. And I think it's becoming a new direction for men to realise that it's okay to open up.
Yeah.
Holding it all in makes you feel very isolated. Overthinking creates spirals of negative thoughts. Letting it out allows you the relief of parking it somewhere. So I wanted to say a few things about that, because these things here never get us into trouble. Okay, this sometimes does. So first of all, I would say be a good listener, because listening is an act of love.
Yeah.
And very few people do listen to us. You come home, you're shouting at your kids, or did you have a nice day? Oh, that's good, you're walking off. Really devoting time to let someone have that space is a very precious, loving gift. And it's so refreshing and releasing. And that's where coaches come in, because we're a neutral agent in people's lives. We don't have an agenda. So if you know someone who might want to talk, be that listening ear. And it literally means having, and I call it unsympathetic empathy. And what that means is don't cry with them. Because if your friend's really sad and you start crying, then go, oh, sorry, I've upset you. Try and hold the space for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think I am empathetic, but I'm not going to get so into the story that I'm brought down by it. I want to really help you. So tell me, I'm strong, I can hold this. And I think that is such a wonderful gift you can give someone. However, you might be the sort of person who thinks, I don't like to share. You know, and I want to get the word out there. It's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. You don't have to look perfect. We're not on Instagram now. You can say, I'm having a bad day. You can say, I'm feeling low. And everyone will relate. You're not on your own. And I think it's that sense of, am I the only one going through this right now? No, you're not.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That listening thing is really important. Thomas talks about listening as a service, LAS, he calls it. But it always makes me think we should have a Get Britain Listening Week.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I completely agree. That's what we do as coaches. We completely hold it. Now, I want to say something else about sharing. You know, there's a lot of people who don't mind dumping.
Don't mind what?
Dumping on you.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
It's oversharing. It's like, whoa, too much information. I don't want to hear about that. That's not what we're talking about here. It's not like somebody just said, guess what I've just done in the bedroom, or guess what, you know, and you're just like, that's not sharing. That's just dumping horrible stuff on people. So be careful. You know, you don't have to listen to that. So it's about having boundaries as well. It's about daring to be vulnerable and choosing somebody that you trust. Because if you tell someone like Kevin in accounts or Sue is on reception and you don't know them that well, you're putting a lot of vulnerability into possibly unsafe hands. So make sure the person you're talking to you can trust, because I don't know about you, I've sometimes told someone something that's on my mind and they haven't treated it with the respect it should have been treated, and therefore you've doubled your pain. Yeah. And they've dropped it on the floor, or they've mentioned it another time and you thought, well, that was kind of a confidential moment I was sharing, but I didn't want you to drag it up again. So I think it's really important that we create that safe space for our friends, our clients, people that we know, and that I'm holding this for you and I won't tell a soul.
Yeah, I think that's so important, because unsolicited advice sometimes, a lot of people think that when you share something, they're asking you for their advice, but sometimes you're not. I think that's what, people like ourselves sort of know, that we're not always wanting advice, they're just wanting to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Carole Ann, why is it important that we share? What's the danger? What happens to us sort of mentally if we don't share? What can happen?
I think you feel isolated, because there's a kind of, am I the only one who's thinking like this at the moment? Am I mad? Am I crazy? Am I wrong? And then the inner critic comes up. Yes, you are. You're wrong to be thinking this. You should be doing this. You should be upbeat. You should be happy. You should be getting on with it. What's the matter with me? I'm not coping. And a sort of a horrible negative spiral of criticism and self-blame comes in. And actually, you're human. And have compassion for yourself. You're struggling. We all struggle. And it's okay to say to someone sometimes, sorry, I didn't get back to you. I'm really struggling today.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't answer the 100 emails I had. I couldn't face it because I've hit a wall. And when I did a post the other day, have you hit the COVID wall? I've got a great response. Suddenly it's okay to say, yeah, I have.
And have you seen in your practice, Carole Ann, that there's been a huge influx of people that have hit the wall, have had burnout, anxiety, or whatever label they've themselves put on it?
I think the worst thing I can hear is, what's the point? Because when you say that, you're losing engagement with life. So it'd be like, what's the point of investing in my business when I don't know? And you have to stay in the now as much as you can, because none of us know what's around the corner. No one predicted this year, but you can have a lot of power in the now. So it's like, try and stay in the moment and stop getting anxious about the future. I have seen people really worried about money. That's frightening for them. But it could be time to redesign your business. It could be time to be creative, to piggyback with someone else, to get into the tech you never explored before. Try to see the opportunity. I don't want to be a Pollyanna, but try to find the little green shoots that you can nurture.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting you say about fear, because I think what people find is there are certain primary emotions that we are all experiencing at the moment. And I agree with you. There's a lot of people in fear, either massively fearing this illness or massively fearing their financial future. And talking that through with other people, it really helps. I mean, I know I've been there, massively been there in the past. And financial fear is crippling, especially when you've got, dependence on you, etc.
It is. But there's a lot of ways you can join a community these days. There's Facebook, there's other groups you could start yourself. There's even like private groups on LinkedIn to talk about your business issues. I think people, if you Google the 10 things that make human beings happy, being of service to others is what is right up the top there. So even helping someone else can help you.
Yeah.
So how can I help you? How can I help? Can I show you how to do a podcast? Can I show you how to do LinkedIn? Can I help you? And you will feel good that you've reached out, and that person will feel that you've got their back.
Yeah, it takes confidence, doesn't it, though, to actually say to someone, unless you're a trained person, to actually say to someone, what's going on. I mean, my mum brought me up to believe that you shouldn't be nosy. I know a lot of, don't ask questions. And, so I think, a lot of people think that it's wrong to ask, wrong to dig into someone. It's such a kind act, isn't it?
Well, these days, it's almost wrong to not be happy. There's an enforced happiness culture. Like, you've always got to see the positive. Well, actually, some days I'm not seeing it, and that's okay too. And not to beat yourself up. I think it's when the self-judgment comes in. And I practice incredible, endless self-compassion, because I goof up, I make mistakes, I do so many embarrassing things. I have to be compassionate with myself, and we all have to. We're not. Stop aiming for perfection, aim for self-acceptance. And that means I'm having a bad day, I'm not feeling great, I was awake in the night. But you're not alone. A lot of us know that. It's not all having shiny, happy lives on Instagram,
So I wonder how somebody does find that. Because I know a number of years ago when I was feeling really lonely, and I had an identity that, I sort of felt I needed to uphold, and then there was my truth. And I ended up seeking out a prayer group in my local town just to feel that I could go and see people who, I live in Farnham. It's quite a wealthy area. A lot of the women that I know are quite closed, and they don't open up. And I don't know whether that means they've just got really fantastic lives. On the outside, it looks like it, or whether they just seem to, not want to share anything. And so it's finding where you can go to open up and meet people that aren't going to. I remember, without rattling on here, I remember when I was doing when I was part of an NCT with young babies, I was like they all loved it, because over dinner I'd be telling them all my hell that I was going through in my head and adjustments and things, and none of them would say anything. And I'd go away thinking I was the only idiot. They'd all go away thinking, oh God, I feel fantastic now. So you want to find people that aren't going to make you feel small, don't you?
Well, that's why you have to choose your tribe, your community really well, even if it's one person. And I have a friend, I used to call her my dismal doula, because I'd say, look, I've got to phone you up. She's like birthed my misery for me, which was put me on speaker and go and make a cake or pour yourself off, because I just got to let a whole load of stuff out here. and mute yourself, because I just want to do an existential unloading here and have wine, watch TV, and just let me go, and another thing, and another thing. And then she'd say, are you feeling better yet? Yes, get in there, and another thing. Are you done yet? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the clarity you get, though, when somebody's just a sounding board. That's why when people talk, you don't have to give advice.
You don't.
Because you have your own clarity, don't you, when you're allowed to talk?
You don't have to absorb it. But I'm really glad that you mentioned prayer, because I heard on the radio that Google have announced that they had the biggest ever recording Google search for prayer and praying. So that shows where the human condition is at the moment, right? So you're on Google and you're looking for prayer, and praying. What does that say about how society is at the moment? They're looking for answers. They want relief. They want some help.
And faith. They're looking for faith. I think that's me. Hope, trust, and faith, I think, are very entwined. And I was just looking, and some people use affirmations. I mean, prayer is in a way an affirmation, isn't it? It's,
so Kim, in the corporate world where your space is, has there been a shift, do you think, in people opening up and being honest about their vulnerabilities? Are they talking and sharing, or is it still very much a closed, strong book?
It's still really closed, albeit, as I say, in the research that LinkedIn produced last week, clearly they are sharing anonymously through things like that. But we are starting to see an uptake in people reaching out to find coaches, to find somebody who can be that independent sounding board, because as you've said, all of you have said, the need to be listened to. As human beings, we all want to be listened to and understood, and that can be really hard because we've kind of lost the art of listening. We now listen to interject, not to understand, and we need to get back to listening to understand. And I guess that's kind of what all of us do, isn't it? Our roles are to really listen to people, to understand where they are right now, to hold that space for them, as you so eloquently put, Carole Ann, and to give them chance to find their answer, because often their answer comes straight after they've told you what their problem is, because they just needed that opportunity to get it out and to share that. But we've still got a long way to go. For far too long, vulnerability has been deemed to be something you should hide, something that you should be ashamed of. And yet we're all vulnerable about something. There's something all of us don't like about ourselves, or we find uncomfortable, I guess. But when we find the way of sharing our vulnerability without losing our credibility, it's amazing how quickly that vulnerability can become our superpower. And it also allows other people to realize it's okay to not be perfect. That's so important right now.
I think that's the great thing about Joe Wicks coming out this week, because he was on such a pedestal, wasn't he? Especially March the 23rd, when he took over the PE sessions every morning. And, you know, our perception of Joe is that he is healthy, he is fit, both in mind and body, and he is the positive person that everybody saw, you know, at 9 a.m. every morning. So for him to come out and say, actually, he didn't want to do anything, he didn't want to record a workout, he didn't actually sometimes fancy working out, that's quite huge for him to be that honest and that raw. And I think, Carole Ann, why does it take that celebrity to get us to go, oh, actually, it's all right then?
I think this fear of judgment that people say, oh, they're not up to much then, they're weak. But actually, it's the reverse that happens. People go, wow, that's really brave. And I think we need to reframe what vulnerability means. Is it strong to walk into everything with your sword and shield up, like ready for a fight? Is that strong? Or is it more strong and brave to walk in without your armor, saying, I don't know, I'm struggling? To me, that's strength, not being brittle and having these barriers up and saying, I'm perfect, no one doesn't hurt me. You're not being human, you are human.
Yeah, I love that metaphor. That's such an awesome metaphor. When people come and talk, and I agree with you that they sometimes just needs to be listened to. But obviously from a professional point of view, and those people that are more adept at helping. I mean, a lot of people I know come on your life coaching who aren't necessarily want to be a life coach. They come to your academy, Carole, because they are a teacher or a doctor or a parent, or they just want to have skills that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
When people are talking through things, just thinking of some tips that we could give people here. Because rather than giving advice, what we learn as coaches, I mean, I don't always do it. Sometimes I turn into a mentor and want to just tell you, but you know, we try to just inquire what's making people believe that, don't we?
Yeah.
So where does, you know, if we could give some people some tips on this, you know, if somebody came to talk to them today in an office, or what are some tips around helping people to discover why they have the thoughts and where are their belief systems coming from?
Yeah, you could first of all mirror back what they just said. So are you saying that? So that's the person that hears themselves. And then say, what proof do you have for that? What is that based on? So that's the sort of question you'd ask. Where are you getting that information from? Are you assuming it or is it real? And a good question to ask everyone is, what would you need right now? And it could be, I need some feedback, or I just need someone to listen, or I need a new project, or I need motivation. In that question, what do you need right now? The person does sort of know what the answer is, but they need to speak it out. Coaches come from the position that we have everything within us, all the answers, everything we need for success, love, and happiness are all in here. The coach doesn't have the magic wand. We're just helping the client find the lock where they have the golden key. So
that's beautiful.
Putting it back to the person who's talking and helping them see they're more powerful than they think they are, and they do have the answers.
Yeah, because it's very disempowering, really, when you give people answers, isn't it?
We don't give advice as coaches.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
I think that's a really good question. That's something that I often say, how can I best support you right now?
Yeah.
You know, because like you say, they know, really. And it's just about them sharing that and voicing it and being honest about it. And then exploring what that really means.
Yeah. And it does apply to us as parents as well, doesn't it? You know, I mean, some of us have got, you know, Carole Ann, you and I have got grown up kids. And I remember someone saying when they grow up, you stop being a manager and you start being a consultant. And, you know, they're not necessarily wanting your advice anymore, does it? So it's a great tips for parents as well, because a lot of people with kids at, you know, at universities, for example, my heart's bleeding for parents and the kids at universities. So these are skills that are really universally needed, aren't they?
They are. But what a very simple tip, if you find yourself in an overwhelmingly bad feeling, is to remember that even this shall pass. So write down, I am currently experiencing the feelings of, i.e., I am not sad, because you are not sad, you're feeling the feelings of sadness. I'm currently feeling the emotion of anxiety. This gives the brain a chance to realise it's a coming and going emotion. a week from now, you might be feeling feelings of hope and happiness and joy and optimism again. So the feelings are temporary. They're not permanent. And sometimes out the sun, you know, like, wow, I can't see beyond the abyss. It will pass. Remember that.
Yeah, and also knowing it has passed. Sometimes you have to remind yourself it's passed.
Yeah, don't get stuck with it.
Yeah, don't get stuck with it in your gunny sack, as we talked about before. And I remember saying to my kids when they went off to university, you're not going to be lonely, you're just going to be alone. It's a very different thing, isn't it? You might be alone there, but you're not necessarily lonely. It's just the language you use for yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and we all go through these times, and we don't have to live there. It will pass. I always think, have a little book of all things that are good in your life as well, and good about you. Write down, I'm a good and loyal friend. I bake a great pasta dish. I look good in green. People say I smell nice. And download lovely compliments that you get in emails and put them in your Big Me Up book. I've got, have a small book like this that you keep in your handbag or your suit pocket of all the good things about you and your life. All of them. You've got an idiosyncratic walk that people like. You've got a funny laugh that makes people laugh. Put it in there. And you're having a today, read your Big Me Up book. Oh, actually, I am all these great things. These are the good things. Because we do forget.
Great. I love that Big Me Up book. I love that. Yes. In fact, some ladies that are watching us right now, Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for watching. You've said putting that ball back in the person's court really helps because it gives you permission to feel that way and to really explore it. So thanks for sharing that, Sarah. And Mary Claire has also said, even this shall pass. And I think she's referring to you, Carole Ann, when she says, you taught me this a long time ago. So thank you, ladies, for those comments. They're just a couple of the ones that I've seen. I think this whole topic today is, Mary Claire's just said, I'm going to start a Big Me Up book. I'm going to start that too. I think that's great. Who else is going to start a Big Me Up book?
Yeah, brilliant.
If nobody else bigs me up, I'm going to do it myself, right? But I think my tip this week follows this subject really closely because I ask all of my clients to review and to write down a review and as accountability to send it to me each and every week. But that review is about recognizing our successes because who else is going to recognize those successes if we don't? Who's going to be that? And this is what we can put in our Big Me Up book. Susie has also said she's going to start one. Brilliant. But yeah, if we don't recognize those successes, all we do is focus on the things that didn't go quite so well. So Big Me Up book, reviews, celebrate your successes, share your successes, share them with us. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
Kim, what is your big tip of the week?
So my big tip of the week is, and I love the Big Me Up book. I definitely think we should go with that. I used to get my clients to come up with what are the things you've done today where somebody's thanked you, so that you actually take that recognition. And Carole Ann, you used a great term, which I use all of the time in a conversation we had a few months ago, which is beware of the Primark brush off. The whole, when somebody gives you a compliment and you go, it was just a fiver from Primark. Yeah. And instead to actually own that and write it down. And maybe that's something you could put in the Big Me Up book, but it's great for when you're having those low moments to go back to.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I have mine on my phone as well. I write any nice things that anyone said. I put it on my phone. If I'm going to a meeting, I've got on the train. Oh yeah, these are black and white evidence that I'm doing pretty well.
Brilliant, brilliant.
We need to remind ourselves. So my tip is get your Big Me Up book, and here's your homework, everyone. 50 to 100 things today that are great about you and your life. Today, and then add to it and add to it and add to it forever.
There's your homework on business plans. Penny, we've got 30 seconds, lovely.
I'll be really quick. I know that from a lot of people I've talked to that one of the things that's getting them down is this whole world of comparison. It's the thief of joy. And I think, I think when you notice those triggers, start becoming aware of those triggers, because I know too many people are getting very down by this glossy world
Yeah.
And so, you know, what we've shared today is the truth about how everybody's feeling. Everybody needs a friend. Everybody needs to talk. A lot of people have fears. So stop comparing yourself with those people that look glossy. You know, just realise the world isn't as glossy as it looks when you're looking on Instagram.
Keeping it real, which is the whole focus of this chat show, keeping it real. Thank you, ladies. I can't believe that's 30 minutes up already. It's been a pleasure as always. Kim, how can people get in touch with us?
So you can join us at www.businessblondes.tv. We're also really keen to get people joining us and on the show, sharing their hints and tips. And you'll find a link on that website to be able to apply to be a guest. So please do so. And we're also at Business Blondes on all social media. And we look forward to seeing you next week at 1.
Thanks, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye.